All right, welcome to the Stampscapes lab. We're trying a elongated slimline scene, kind of in the spirit of the kind of Chinese ink painting types of formats here, except using the new lakeside cabins here. So this is one stamp that's been stamped right here. It's about 2/3 of it, I guess, on the right-hand side, and then just a small portion of it right here, stamped up here. And then a little bit of a larger portion, about half the stamp stamped right here, so it kind of merges right on into that impression up top. We're trying to create this little bit of a corridor, a visual corridor coming up here. So I stamped all that out just to speed up the process here. You don't need to see me doing that. But let's stamp out some background mountains now. Okay, so I'm going to really wipe off the bottom of this stamp when I stamp it out, because this whole area, the whole thing looks like it's going to look like it's in mist. Okay, I haven't tried it with these stamps, but kind of employing some of the techniques that I learned with that Mystic series. To this line of stamps. I don't know. I guess I've done similar things, but not so kind of minimal in the past. So I'd like to see what this would look like. Okay, so wiping off the bottom of this, pretty good. And then transitioning it about midway or so to where this area in here has about half the ink as the top portion of it. So it goes wet, drier, driest down here. And should stamp out from dark to light as a result. And we'll go about like so. Stamp it right on over your trees. Okay. And it should transition nicely like that. So see, stamp it right over the trees like that. You don't have to mask them off because I've wiped off a lot of the ink, and plus those trees are darker up top. So that's the way that they've been designed, so it's less work for us when we start stamping, right? Okay. I like getting really good results with whatever effort it takes, but if it can take less effort by designing the stamps a certain way, then I'm certainly going to do it, because we want to be able to get to, I don't know, the things that we want to get to as far as techniques go, with kind of minimal hassle. Now, some things take a little bit of time, some types of techniques, but we want to minimize the kind of the tedium. Okay, and I find like masking and things like that a little bit tedious. Have to do it sometimes, but minimally is better than I don't know, kind of otherwise. Okay, so this one right here, I'm going to, that was the rocky peaks right there. And then I'm going to stamp out the tall peak in here just for a little bit of extra grandeur, I think. All right, so I've wiped off this bottom pretty good. And then I say, let me wipe off a little bit more where it's going to be overlapping that peak. So it should transition from wet to dry and dark to light again. I'm doing this over here because I'm going to try this kind of concept in here with the koi fish in here, and then I don't know, a rising or a setting sun, however you see it. All right, let's add a little bit more over here. I'm going to try to go for another impression right here of this right side here, just to continue that mountain out there. If it stamps out really light, that's just fine, and it did. But again, that's generally what I want, so that this darker version against the lighter impression stands out a little bit more forward. Okay, and we'll put like some mist and clouds in the background there. All right, so that is that. And let me get set up for some foreground imagery, and this is where all the fun is going to be kind of located within the scene. Okay, I have my rock cluster here from the Desert Nature set. It's the smaller version. And we'll have a couple of these in the water area. It just kind of anchors out this area a little bit more. I tell you what, let's go for the larger rocks. Okay, so see, I'm kind of creating this meandering little path right in here like this. See that? It goes like that. You could block it off all down here, but I like to have it a little bit more open right through out there. All right, let's get to some other imagery right in here. All right, now here's where the fun begins. This is a koi fish, okay? And I can color it in, but what I've done on the patterning of this fish is those darker areas right there. They would be like this red spot. You know, it's like one of those white and could be a white and black koi too. But what I've done is I've created this situation where if you want to, without having to color it in, post-impression I'm talking about, what you can do is you go into it and we can add that tone into some of the fish here, so it's one of those real colorful fish. I think those are those really expensive koi, those ones that have certain types of I don't know, whatever, probably it's like the purest of color or something like that. I'm not sure what the they go off of, but all right, so let's see how this goes right here. I'm just going to go for it right here. I thought, maybe I should do a test impression, but we have it colored up here, so let's just stamp it out. All right. One right here, kind of swimming in between the rocks in the shallows next to the shoreline. Okay, just like that. I don't know, can you see that color? Like that. All right. Now we're going to create a relationship between the koi and this, whatever, rising or setting sun. So that should be kind of interesting to create that type of, it's like a visual connection relationship. All right, and we have some more koi here. Now I think in order to create a bit of stronger kind of, visual relationship, I think we need more fish in there that are going to be kind of, with colors reflective of that which is going on in the sky. So I'm doing that the same right now here. Now, you notice I used black on here first. I just find that gives kind of a nicer blend, or slightly nicer blend, doing it that way. You go dark to light. Okay, now you see I just kind of wipe off the color here, that gets on there. And that's how we always used to use these pens. And it doesn't really pollute them. Well, it does, but you just kind of wipe it off like that. And these are Marvy pens, though, and I guess they have been discontinued, so they're still out there, though. You can still find them probably pretty easily, just directly on the Uchida website. It's the Marvy 1500 series. Everyone used to use those. They used to use those as La Plumes or both. I'm talking a long time ago in stamping. All right, so here we go with this little koi cluster. All right, so see those right there? Look at those beautiful fish. Now we've, instead of just stamping them black by using those colors in there, now we're stamping a, like, $2,000 fish with that color. All right, so let me get some of my water lilies right in here. I don't have, well, okay, I wasn't quite sure if I had room for the larger lilies here. Now I'm gonna do this in black because it's like spot coloring here. It's like grayscale, and then with those spots of red in there just for impact. Okay. It's in that style. Try not to stamp my water lilies over the head of one of these fish. You could, if there's a bunch of them swimming around in here, but these are a little bit more kind of focused in terms of just a small grouping, so they become much more than just they're like a focal point instead of just like like a menagerie of hundreds of them or something like that. All right, these are the small lilies right here. Okay, throw a couple like right in here so they're kind of swinging about right in there, like about like so. I guess that's about it. Let's see here. I do have this, which I could use in the background. Let's go ahead and use it. This is the Lily Grass stamp, and it provides a little bit more, kind of textural depth and a transition image for these other lilies. A lot of times these lilies are, if they're in a larger body of water, they might just kind of be in the shallows in the foreground, but right in here I find that this provides a little bit of a kind of a transition between these larger shapes like that and that background area. All right. A little bit more foreground. Now I will put some of these grass textures right over the reeds large over the top of this fish, but I'm not going to obscure it like that. All right, so let's get ready to add in our sun here. Okay, I have 3 different tones here. Yellow, orange, red, 3 colors, analogous colors, whatever. And let's put our moon, or sun, right here. Okay, up in our sky. We'll go, off to the left here of that peak, right in between the I don't know, whatever, 2 summits, I guess you can say. And we'll go about like so. Now I'm going to do this thing called attempt to do this thing called a split fountain. If it were graphic arts. If anyone from my graphic arts class in high school ever watches one of these, hello. All right. And it will transition from yellow to red up here. But you put the full yellow down. I'm using a dye-based ink right here. You can use whatever you want, though. Maybe not a StazOn ink or something like that, but you know, if you want to go pigment ink, you can do that. I'm trying to get right in the corners there. All right, now when you're transitioning, I would use the same applicator. Okay. Kind of blend it together a little bit. And I'm going to go like this. I'm going to transition it like this. Now here's the thing. Try not to go down all the way to the bottom, but you want to go down, you know, decent ways because you have to leave room for that red that's to come. So, you know, it might be kind of a very pale orange down towards the bottom, but you can go a little bit brighter up top, a little bit thicker up top. So you're going from dark to light, okay? Like that. See, it already looks pretty cool, but it's not quite the red of that, you know, those fish down there. So let's match that. It's going to be important to kind of make that visual relationship between, you know, our light source and those fish. I'll color those fish a little bit more. I colored them, it's a little bit too dark red, I guess. You know, so we'll go back into that. Okay, now here's this. You might not need to do too many swipes here, but use a little bit less pressure here, just so that you don't turn the whole thing red. If you haven't done this before, you might want to blot this off quite a bit, you know, before you start laying these kind of horizontal streaks down. Let me go a little bit more. Again, because I'm going more just because those fish are predominantly red, okay? Now this is like a really warm red, so let's see if I can go a little bit deeper red. It's like a cherry red up top. Seeing if I have another red that's darker than this one. Is this Crimson? Yeah, that's Crimson Lake. And let's see, I do have this one. Here's an English red. See, it's a little bit darker. And it's a little bit closer to the tone of those fish. So that's why I'm doing this one. Okay. Again, just kind of add it in sparingly at first. Okay, and then we have that. Or do we? Let me see this right here. Let me go a little bit. Let's bring it a little bit further down, but it's almost like dry brushing it. Dry tapping it, I guess. There we go. A little bit more like that. Well, that's about the red that I wanted. All right, now what we'll do is we'll start bringing in some tones into this. So we'll use, I was going to do this in a watercolor pencil, okay, and then go into it and kind of blend it around a little bit, mix more kind of ink painting-ish, okay. But it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to make this one just as simple as possible. Not that that's hard or anything like that. It's doing the exact same thing, but just adding an extra step of kind of blending, you know, the applications around a little bit with, you know, wet paintbrush, okay? But yeah, let's just keep this as simple as possible here. Okay, so I need to make sure that I'm not blurring anything here with some wet ink, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding in some light shading, and we'll introduce some grayscale into this. Um, I was going to say, I'm looking at my desk here. You can also use some, you know, alcohol markers if you want to. If you stamp this in like a StazOn ink, then don't use the alcohol markers, but use something like, water-based markers or dyes to add some shading in here. But let me see if I can kind of expedite the process a little bit just by, you know, adding in some grayscale in here. All right, so this is a really light gray. Okay, it's like a 10% or something like that. But now I work a little bit different when I'm doing this type of Chinese ink painting thing. My darker tones are typically at the top of the image, and then it transitions into lighter tones. Okay, it's usually the opposite because my light source is coming from above, so I bottom, I top light something, and my shadows underneath. But this one's a little bit different here, so keep that in mind. It's a little bit of a different mindset, I guess. Okay. If you tone away too much, don't worry about it because we're going to come in here with our white pigment ink, and we're really going to give kind of this essence of I don't know, kind of mist and illuminated mist and fog in this piece. But yeah, it's really different for me to go in and bottom light things. It feels like I don't know, breaking the rules here or something. All right, so see, my mountains are a little bit more rendered here in terms of lighting. Go into our trees and give them a little bit more mass. You don't want to color in everything, okay? It's, you want to leave some things still a little bit light. I oscillate it. I don't do everything top lit, okay? I still, like these rocks down here in the design. I'm not gonna bother, bottom lighting those. I'll still have a little bit of top light coming from those. Just I don't want to flatten things out, in other words. So you still want to have light and shadow kind of within the designs themselves. All right, let's see. See, right underneath here, I'll hit the shadow areas. And then let's do this right here. Let's bring in a little bit of tone into that water like that. I'll do some more fine tuning with the colored pencil, but this is just kind of adding in a really fast application of shadow. All right, so that is that. Well, you can add more too, but I think that's it for that one. Let's hit it with the colored pencil, okay? It's largely kind of just reiterating what I did with the previous tone. Not exactly, I'm kind of hitting more of a select, part of the design maybe. It doesn't really matter where you do it though, so it's not like, oh wait a minute, how do I know which area to color? It's really kind of, you just want to have variation in there, oscillate your lights and darks within there, just for a little bit more variation. Don't do the whole thing one uniform value. Have some darker areas and lighter areas. And that creates this kind of push-pull type of dynamic within your pieces. They just look more rounded that way. It's like my hand here. There's just different lights on here, right? So instead of like shading a hand just completely uniform, you have some areas that are a little bit lighter and some areas that are darker. And don't forget the veins. All right, so toning along like this. We're going to hit it a little bit more selectively in some areas. You can get pretty detailed with a pencil like this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tone in more of this, and I'll fast forward here to the next step. All right, we've toned in kind of these gradations of, I don't know, whatever, various values of gray, and kind of anchored our objects down in here. See that kind of trail of a little bit dark to light at the base of these objects, even like these little lilies and lily grass right in here. All right, so pretty decent amount of colored pencil here, but for the most part, it's kind of lightly applied. Like about like that. I think it's pretty well kind of bonded together with a little bit of added texture. All right, now one of the things I should have done in here, I use this stamp on just about everything. Tiny rocks, small. So I'm going to be stamping this over the top of basically wax now that with the colored pencil's been laid down in there. So I'm going to need the stays on. It would have been better if I stamped this before, but I wasn't thinking about it. So adding some of these textures in here. About that. It kind of brings this whole area together from a textural standpoint too. It's just a little bit more visually interesting, in my opinion, as well. It's not something that you're gonna like think about, like, oh my God, look at those little rocks in there. If someone looks at this, but kind of on a, I don't know, maybe a subconscious level. I mean, people might, see it in there, but see, there's just a little bit more continuity. I brought it in here, and it's right in here, and right over here, down, in those lower areas. So from a textural standpoint, it's just like a needle and thread. It brings a little bit of a stronger relationship to all of the objects right in this area. Okay, so you see the red, or those transitions up there, like that. I'm going to try and bring some of those colors down into the fish, okay? Now, the easiest way, I don't know if it's the easiest way, but I think it's just to use colored pencils on them a little bit, okay? And we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to use it over some of that red to bring some of this more orangish tinge to them. I might need to go to my acrylic paint pens, though, because I don't know if this is going to really show on those fish. So let's see. We're going to try to layer this in here as well. So I think it looks pretty decent. I can't see it very much, but it's just one tone. We want to layer these colors together and get it to kind of have a little bit of a glow to them, a deeper richness to them. I don't know if you can see it there. Sorry, I can't zoom in a little bit closer. But putting this yellow right over the top of that red that I just laid down is giving it a little slightly different orangish tinge. You don't see this yellow in koi fish, really. I don't think. Maybe there are. I don't know. There's so many different colors of them out there. Let's try a little bit of this alcohol ink. So alcohol ink is very completely transparent, but we'll see if we can kind of influence that red in there a little bit. I'm talking about like the red fins that are on and the ones that I colored with the Marvy pens. I think it's showing pretty good. All right. Now, I'm going to, those koi fish in there, in that white area of the koi, okay, I'm going to give them a little bit more, I guess, volume and mass by rendering a little bit more shadow work onto them. Yeah, it makes them look a little bit more dimensional, I think. Three-dimensional, that is. And I'm going to add a little bit of blue in that shadow, just for a little bit of extra kick. It's like the only cool tone thing in here, but I just barely added a little bit of a hint of it down there, so those fish, you know, stand out a little bit more. Now that I look at those fish too, I think what we should do, now they're swimming around in this water down here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of like some shadow work underneath them. And doing it with the black colored pencil. Now, how distant you have the shadow from the object, it just depends on how, you know, what depth the fish are swimming at. So you just kind of make that up. I mean, you can do it at different heights if you want to, different depths, I guess. All right, so see that we've kind of anchored those fish into the, the area a little bit more. All right, now I think we're ready for the thing that's really going to, or the thing that I'm really hoping will really unify this and give it that whole kind of ink painting spirit, okay? That's going to be the use of some white pigment ink. Let's see, I'm looking for a used cotton ball here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add this texture and kind of lighting over everything. And where I'm going to do it is at the base of these. It's going to look like kind of fog and mist. That's the concept, at least. We'll see how it comes out. So I start doing that where light meets dark, okay? So light meets dark, light meets dark. And maybe we'll fool around a little bit up here too. All right, so adding in kind of creates a little bit of separation between this foreground. I don't know, it's not really foreground, it's like distant, but the closer mountain and the background one. It's kind of putting a little bit in fog right there. I'll push this back a little bit and make it look like this range right here, that maybe that mountain on this range is just lower, so it's in fog or something. Right, now we'll transition a little bit of this fog from the base of this mountain up. I'm starting off with a really light toned, area right here. It's white, that I'm using this in, so you don't really see it until you get up into that darker area, okay? Basically, in this type of thing, we're putting this layer of fog or mist between every object, basically. All right, now see this one right here? I don't have too much room here because I'd go into this tree, but let's bring a little bit of this fog around the corner like this and creep it in right there. Do you see that differentiation between, where it's been applied and where it isn't? So that kind of pushes that back in the distance like that, and it gives that texture, gives that something in common with the background area up there as well. You see that darker area right there? Let's knock it down a little bit like that. All right, let's put some fog coming around this way. This is a really fun process right here to do. You know, things aren't, there's not a lot of colors in this, okay? But you can have a lot of differences in texture and value, okay, doing this. So this is adding the richness into the piece, as opposed to, a lot of different colors: blue for the water, brown for the cabin, green for the trees. Okay, let's come down right into this area. So we're going fog, 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 like that. This area is pretty dark down here, so maybe I won't take that in super far. We'll see though. Putting some right around my rocks. Put it right over the top of some of the lily pads. Let's bring a little bit of this mist right here on this side of that cabin. All right, see, there's that little mist in there. I don't know if I want to use any of my paint pens in here. I might. See those fish, those little colored fish down below like that. Those are fun to do. But I think what I'm going to do here, let's bring a little bit of sparkle in here. I do want a little bit of extra texturing in here. Be a good idea to probably spray seal this. I always say that, but I'm just going to go ahead and add some little highlights down here. It's a little bit of a crisp sparkle into this area. They're pretty subtle because I'm doing this little dot over the top of, a light area. Let's see, let's put a little. I'm going to put a little detail on some of these fish, like a little spot of white. It makes the fish more expensive. Decorative. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to go outside and spray seal this, and then I'll mount it up and I'll show you what this looks like formatted. All right, there we have it. I have this gold foil, real thin, that I've mounted the scene onto. It really kind of needs that gold to tie everything together, doesn't it? To give it that whole, I don't know, whatever, that whole Asian look. And then this is a black glossy paper on the outside. You can get that like on Amazon or something like that. But it gives it that kind of that black lacquer style of frame that you would typically see this type of painting in. That's would be the traditional framing on there. So I don't know if that completes it right there. So I think that this sky type of imagery like that and this relation to these objects down there like that, I mean, you can kind of play around with some different tones like that. Yeah, I don't know if you'd see like blue koi or something like that, but why not? I mean, I think it's something that's kind of fun to play around with. So in this type of thing too, if it was photography, they would call that spot coloring. You can designate like one color, like if you're out for St. Patrick's Day or something like that, you can designate green or something like that, and then everything in the photo is like grayscale except for green, the color green, or something like this. But that kind of spot isolated coloring in an otherwise grayscale scenario can be, it can be pretty impactful and, I don't know, dramatic or something like that, stylish. Um, with the emphasis on whatever colors you want to bring out in there. So I don't know. I think it was kind of fun to play around with and do. I like that little extra texturing that I added into the fish. Sorry, I can't zoom in a little bit more, but those little spots on the top of the fish kind of gave it a little bit more dimension with the white paint pen. The white paint pen on top of the dye-based inks kind of showed through a little bit. So, it's more of like a texturing on there. And I don't know, gives the fish a little bit of added detail. A little bit of shadows underneath there like that, or subtle things you can do or not. You can make a scene go much faster without doing all those little types of things. But I think it kind of adds to it. But one of the things I do find pretty essential in something like this is just adding a little bit of that white pigment ink around in there. It just kind of mellows the imagery out a little bit and softens some things, okay, rather than everything kind of harsh, especially when we're not bringing in a lot of tone around it and it's just the raw imagery in there. Everything's like really crisp, so that softness in there kind of, it balances things out from a textural standpoint. All right, so anyways, hope you enjoyed the scene here, whatever experiment. If you do it, maybe it's a lesson. I don't know. But yeah, it's fun stuff. And you can do it on a smaller format too, but I think these kind of slimline formats like this are really ideal for this type of look and presentation. You often see that in those types of I don't know, whatever they're like scroll. They're not scrolls, but those types of paintings that are on those types of scenes. You could even do something. You can maybe play around. You can even do like a triptych in that, and that would be pretty cool too. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. But yeah, I really like the look, and I plan on doing this again sometime. We'll have a purple rising sun and purple fish down here. All right, thanks for watching.